Hello, hi guys, welcome back to Via Meditation channel. Today we're going to talk a bit about Taoism. I'm reading a book called as The Way of Chuang Tzu. It's translated by a gentleman named as Thomas Merton, who's done a lot of translations on the Eastern material. The book is fabulous. I've read a lot of books on Taoism in the past as well. When you're on a path of mysticism and in meditation, there comes a point in life, when you understand the Tao on a very instinctive note. So, what is Taoism? Taoism is fundamentally a path of total acceptance, and it is a path of total passivity. The Taoist masters would typically say that, Tao is something that acts on all but meddles with no one, which means it is the absolute background of the existence. You can call it God, you can call it Tao, which means it's acting on someone, but it is not meddling with everyone. Which means, as human beings, we do have a freedom to do what we want to do. So the Supreme Tao acts on everyone, but it is non-imposing and it is non-interfering. Now that is the nature of Tao. And if you are on the path of Tao, the complete opposite side comes as a responsibility on us, that we should be also in a state of non-passivity. We should also accept that there is a supreme doer which is working behind all of us. And what we're doing is like swimming on the surface. But at a deep level, there's something else which is acting. We eat food, digestion happens on its own. Nutrients are extracted, the waste is thrown out. We sleep, the heart keeps pumping, the breathing keeps happening. So, what we do, of course, we do a lot of things in life, but that's also not everything that's happening to us. A lot of it is happening on its own instinctively. You know, the Buddha nature, it's also always working, whether we are aware or whether we are not aware. So this is fundamentally, I would say, the very short summary of what it is. But to understand this better, let's take one story from the book. It's called as The Empty Boat. It is considered to be one of the foundational stories of Taoism. In the story, Chuang Tzu says that, he starts the story with that if you are controlling others, then you will be anxious, and if you are being controlled by others, you will be miserable. So an ideal situation for a man is to neither control someone or not to be controlled by anyone, which means you are truly a free man. Then he goes on to say how to be that kind of a person. So he gives an example that, imagine if someone is riding a boat in the river, he's crossing a river, and his boat gets hit by another boat, and that boat turns out to be empty. Then in that case, even if that person has a very bad temper, he will not lose too much temper of the empty boat, because there's no point in it, because the boat is already empty. But if the boat had a driver, there was a person inside the boat, then this guy would be very upset. Even if that guy does not hear, he will stop him, chase him, and keep screaming till the time his frustration is removed. So he says that if you want to live life peacefully and successfully and pass through it, uh, you should go like an empty boat. You don't interfere others, others don't see you. That is exactly the way a Taoist should live, like an empty boat. This is example by Chuang Tzu, but Lao Tzu also says something very similar. In another way, he says nobody can defeat me because I'm already the last. So he says you can't beat me. I'm already the last. So that's again, the path of Tao. Like they say that water goes to the lowest level. So water is the source of life, and they also say that water, despite the softest thing, cuts the rocks. It may take time, but it cuts the rock, and it goes to the lowest level. That's the path of Taoism. Now, supreme acceptance, while we can say, but it's not easy. Bhagavad Gita says the same thing, that you're not the doer. But is it easy to accept? It's not easy to accept, because we have a very strong illusion we are the doers. So accepting the fact that we can do things on the surface, which is not wrong. We have to do something in life. We can do things what we want to do, but deep below, as a flowering of meditation, we should have acceptance that we will try to do what we want to do, but whatever happens, if it happens, we accept it. I think that is to be truly immersed in Tao. And how does that state come? There is one another story in the same book which is called as when the shoe fits. So the story goes like this. He says, when the shoe fits, the foot is forgotten. When the belt fits, the belly is forgotten. When the heart is set in right place, the for and against are forgotten. Mostly, we have a lot of preferences. We prefer this over that. There's a story of for and against going on in our life all the time. So he says, when for and against are forgotten, a person is truly in the center. It's not an easy state to accept what comes your way, to not have preferences, but that is the only way, the path of supreme surrender. Bhakti also actually points towards that. And there's another book called as Sins and Ming by Suzanne. He says in that book that even if you part a hair, heaven and earth are miles apart. By parting a hair, he makes, if you make a slightest choice, if you make a slightest preference of this over that, then heaven and earth are miles apart. The moment you want something, you will never be at peace. The moment you accept what comes your way, you will always be at peace. Of course, it's not easy, but with meditation, you will see you reach that state, not 24 hours of the day, but there will be hours in your day that you will be in that state. And that is a very, very, good zone to be in. I would like to end up this small talk with another story from the book, Way of Chuang Tzu. He says the story is called as 3 a.m. in the morning. So he says that there's a zookeeper who goes to the monkeys and he tells them, you will get 3 measures of chestnut in the morning and 4 measures in the afternoon. The monkeys get very angry and they protest. So the zookeeper says, okay, I'll give you 4 measures in the morning and 3 in the afternoon. And they became settled. So this is exactly what they say. This is 3 a.m. in the morning, that we are attached to one side of the view and we are completely oblivious to the other side. While yin and yang are 2 polar opposites. If we see the 2 polar opposites very clearly, then the Tao will not be obscured. But if you don't see that, the Tao will always be obscured. So 3 in the morning was not acceptable, but the 4 in the morning is acceptable. But 3 plus 4 or 4 plus 3 is still 7. So it's still the same, but it is just that one formula was acceptable, the other formula was not acceptable. And that is how most frustrations arise in the life. And a Tao master will say that you be at the center, like a center of Tao, which is the center of the circle. Around that center, there is a constant yes and no going on, constant battle of duality going on, for and against. But that's all on the circumference. It keeps happening. You be at the center, which is total acceptance and total passivity. Thank you guys. Thanks for watching. Try reading this book, The Way of Chuang Tzu. It's highly recommended. Bye bye.